Hi. One of our more popular videos shows how you can add an external audio jack to your NuTone Intercom Master Station, and then after you've done that, you can plug a wide variety of devices into that audio jack. You can plug your phone in, you can plug in a Wi-Fi streaming device like an Amazon Echo Dot, or for a lot of people you can plug in a little Bluetooth receiver and pair it up with your phone or some other device that has Bluetooth and play your music through the system. Very popular thing to do, something people have done for a really long time in one way or another. The Bluetooth option for most people is very appealing. However, the little portable Bluetooth devices, and I suppose I could have brought one over here, but I didn't, have a downside, which is that they are a little self-contained unit. Mostly they're used for use in cars that have radio systems that don't have Bluetooth built in already, and you can plug it into an external jack on your phone and have Bluetooth and do all those good things, but you have to charge them up periodically. Even the very best ones, you might get 8 or 10 hours of use out of it, then you got to unplug it, charge it up, and then use it again. About 2 months ago, I was contacted by a fella who works in Southern California for a small electronics manufacturer, and small means that it's small compared to like if you're Sony or Panasonic. It's, you know, it's not like three guys in the garage. They make a lot of different products, and he had a lot of questions about the requirements for having some sort of device that you could connect to your NuTone Intercom Master Station that would be permanently powered and give you the ability to have Bluetooth connected through their device through your intercom system. That's what this is. I have talked to other people in the past about all of that, and for the most part the conversations never really go anywhere and nothing ever really seems to happen. But in this case, since they do design and manufacture things, he actually did follow through. The whole impetus for this idea with him was he wanted to create it so he could hook it up to his parents' intercom, which is good motivation. I like that. There were some phone conversations and so on and so on. And he sent me, a few weeks ago, I got this just before our really cold snap here. He sent me this as a sample. Now this is the very first time I've taken it out of the bag. He sent it in, and I thought we'd have a look at it and see what it's all about, because other than talking to him on the phone, I don't really know. So let's go ahead and we're gonna unwrap this a little bit here. It's kind of wire tied together. I have not played with this. I don't know a lot about it. There was no technical information in the bag with it, which I would have preferred that there was, but you can see how clever we possibly could be in all of this. Now, what he described was this will work on voltages anywhere from, I think it was like 10 volts AC to up to, I think, maybe 30 volts AC, or maybe a little more than that. I don't recall. I made notes somewhere. I'd have to look for them. It can be connected to the AC transformer that you already have in the wall behind your NuTone Intercom, or if you have a remotely mounted transformer, it can be connected to the wires from that transformer behind the intercom. So it would be permanently powered. It has some sort of Bluetoothy device, which I assume is this. It has some sort of audio interface device, which I think is that, and a variety of cables. So it looks like the way this is constructed, you can actually unplug some of this, which I'm going to do, and we'll sort of reassemble as we go. We're going to start here. This is some sort of, I guess you would refer to it as a power brick. It's a potted device. Potted means that it's a plastic case, and whatever's inside of it is fully encased in some sort of epoxy or resin or some other material. Don't know exactly what's in there. At some point, after I play around with this and everything, not in this video, but at some point, we may just bust it open and see what's inside. But it's supposed to be able to regulate its own power from the basic AC input, which is good. And then there are lines that come out. So these red wires would be what gets connected to the intercom. And then this red and black wire are your outputs. This little thing right here, I believe it's probably going to be a fuse, which is always a good idea. And if we pop this open, it is indeed a glass fuse, and it's got little fuse holders so you can actually take the fuse out. Let's get the magnifier and see what the fuse is. So the fuse is rated at, wait for it, I think it's a 1 amp fuse. It's really kind of hard to read on here because it's not stamped in the end very well. but I think it's 1 amp. Now, this is a fast blow fuse, which means that immediately when there's a problem, it's going to blow. I assume that's their design choice. We'll put that back in there like that. So there's that. And then we have this little device. I assume that this is the Bluetooth receiver device. And then there's an audio cable coming out of it. And that audio cable is going into this black box, which is probably some sort of audio isolation device. So you have an input there, an output here. This is all 3.5 millimeter stereo jack, so it's being plugged here into a 3.5 millimeter socket here to 2 RCA jacks here, so right and left channels, because it's still stereo at this point. And the reason it's all stereo is because Bluetooth, and I'm not a Bluetoothy expert, but I do not believe there is an actual version of Bluetooth that's mono. I believe it's all stereo because all modern devices that have Bluetooth are probably all stereo, so that's what you got. So you got right and left channel out, and of course your intercom system is going to be monaural, so this is a stereo to mono cable adapter, which you plug into here like this, and then you got a single mono jack here. He did say when I spoke with him on the phone after they got this all sorted and everything, when he was trying it out at his parents' house, and I do not know what kind of intercom his parents have exactly, he felt that it sounded better by using one channel of the stereo output instead of mixing the 2 channels into a mono channel. That's one of those try it and decide kind of things. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Not going to do anything with the power brick today because if we did bust it open, we would probably ruin it. And I don't want to do that because I want to play around with this. But this little Bluetoothy device here could be interesting. I'd like to know what's inside of it. So we're going to see if we can, what would they say, crack it open. All right, so let's see if we can do this and not destroy it completely. There are no screws, so either, oh, that was easier than I would have thought. It's got little locking tabs inside. Locking tabs are good. Sometimes these things are glued or sometimes they're ultrasonically welded. So what we have in here is kind of what I would expect. It's a little Bluetooth module. This is a Bluetooth module. And it says on it that it's Accel, A-C-C-E-L-L-E Bluetooth, code date 11/12/2020, and you can actually see if you look on it, this is sort of a little breakout board kind of design, and if you look at it, see if you can see that well enough. Here you have these little squiggle paths here. This is the actual Bluetooth antenna. The reason you would use something like this is because since this kind of device pre-made like this is readily available, and you can probably buy it for, who knows, under $1. There's no reason to sort of roll your own and design it into it. It's just much simpler and more straightforward to buy a pre-made one and incorporate it into your design. So that's that. And then on this side, we have a variety of devices, which kind of hard to read. Oh, it uses my favorite. It uses a Chong capacitor. This right here, a little smoothing cap, this is a Chong capacitor, and we all know how we feel about those. This is probably some kind of little microcontroller down here. Unfortunately, it's really hard to see what it might say. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can decipher the little tiny writing on it, and I'll be back. Okay, did a little research. So first, took the sticker off the little Bluetooth module, and it didn't occur to me until I peeled it off that the name on it is the name of the company that sent me this. So it's their sticker over it. I tried to read the numbers on the little Bluetooth IC underneath here. Can't really make it out. Couldn't really find anything. There's a zillion of these available, different configurations from different companies online. So it's just your kind of standard Bluetoothy module. On this side, this device is probably a voltage regulator. And this little device right here, I did find a data sheet for it. It comes from a Chinese company, of course, and it is a stereo headphone amplifier. And it has, if it's the same one as I found, it has a 33 milliwatt output. It's a little hard to know more than that about it because the data sheet is all in Chinese and I don't read Chinese, so there's that. So this is a pretty much standard little thing here, nothing really amazing about it, I don't think. It's just a nicely put together thing. And I think that since the company that sent this to me, a lot of the products they make are automotive related. I think they're probably leveraging some of their other designs and things in producing this. So that takes care of that. So we have the mystery power brick, we have the Bluetooth module here, and then we have this, which is going to be some kind of audio isolation device. So let's go ahead and see if we can pop this open. Get the magnifiers again and see what we have in here. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular. One of the things to think about with this kind of stuff nowadays is all of this is relatively ordinary and somewhat commonplace. It's really a matter, I think, of putting it together, all the bits and pieces that you need to make the device you want. So this one might have been glued, might have been ultrasonically welded, hard to say, but it seemed to crack open pretty well here. I don't want to destroy it if we don't have to. We also really don't want to slice into our finger. There we go. So here is what's in here, and basically it looks like, oh, it's actually held in with little screws. What do you know? Let's take the little screws out. And now it should just lift out, and there isn't really all that much in here. You've got, this is the input side, you've got two audio isolation transformers. It would be one for each channel, one for left, one for right. And then you've got two capacitors on the output. Also, our favorite Chong capacitors. Woohoo! Way to go. And then you basically have, so you have left, right, and ground. So you have the left, right, and ground wires here. They go through the audio isolation transformers and pop out the other side to feed your intercom system. So it's very, very simple. No active components in here whatsoever. It's just strictly all passive stuff. It's to isolate the signal coming in from the signal going out. That prevents ground loop problems and hums and buzzes and things, at least in theory. So there isn't really a lot to this, which is fine, because oftentimes the simpler it is, the less problems you're going to have with it. So let's see if we can get this back together. I guess I probably wouldn't qualify to work there. Put the little screws back. All right. So again, I wouldn't expect a lot more than this. Do that. We'll put this back on. A little bit of glue, or wrap it with a little tape. It'll be fine. All right, so we have that. So we played around with it. Be interesting to know what's in the power brick here, but like I said, that'll be for later. So I think now it's time to actually try it out and see what we actually get out of it when we try to use it. So let me set something up and I'll be back. So here's our setup. Have not powered it up yet. We're trying it out on a NuTone IM3003, because if you can make it worth a 3003, you can make it work with anything. And also, I've got one of these newly rebuilt that I did yesterday, so it's a good example because it's in good working order now. The setup is simple. I've got the power brick here connected to the same AC power source here. This is from my bench AC power supply that we use when we work on all intercom systems. It's set at nominally 18.5 volts because that's what you would typically get out of a 16 volt AC transformer. So I've got the audio output. I did use the stereo to mono cable adapter and have it plugged in as a mixed signal or a mono signal at this point. And like that. Now, before we power this up, one of the things that makes this more intriguing than average is that, as most of you may know, when you have a Bluetooth device, you have to pair it with your phone or whatever source device you're going to use it with. Most devices that have Bluetooth will have at least one or two buttons on them, and you have to push the button in the right way to put it in pairing mode so that you can pair it with your phone, for instance. That creates problems when you have something like an intercom system, because if you have to do that on this, if this had some kind of button you had to push, and you're going to bury this all down inside the wall behind your intercom system, it makes a problem because we have all had the experience that you have some Bluetooth device that's paired to your phone, and you've been using it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's all great. And then one day you go to use it and you can't find it anymore. It has, for whatever reason, unpaired itself, or whatever it's actually called, and then it won't work. Then, if it was something like this with an intercom system, as this was buried back in the wall and it had buttons on it, then you got to open up the intercom, push the button on the device, pair it with your phone again, and blah, blah, blah. How many times do you think people are actually going to put up with doing that? I'm going to say maybe one, because it's not convenient, and we don't want people opening up their intercom systems all the time, because odds are you're going to do something foolish and blow something up, and that wouldn't be good. So, and this was part of the conversation I had with the fella that sent this to me. So this apparently has no buttons, does not, it doesn't have to, no buttons to push to pair it or anything. It just should show up on your phone. I have it connected to the tape input. I did not hook an antenna up to it because we're not going to really play the radio. So let's power this up. Clock lights up here. We're going to switch it over to the tape input. We'll do power on. We're on tape input, and it shows the time 10:10. It's not actually 10:10, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and use my phone here, and we need to go to settings, and we need to go to connections, and we need to go to Bluetooth, and now it's scanning for Bluetooth devices. So we'll see how long this actually takes and if it actually finds it, because it's supposed to. Ooh, it does. Available devices. So let's do this. It is now pairing, and yes, let's pair. Oh, it went bleep. Did you hear that? You could rewind and hear it go bleep again if you want. So now it's paired, and let's find something to listen to. We cannot really play music because copyright and all that good stuff. Tell you what, let's find this and play this.
And they come in different colors. Sometimes they're just green.
That's a podcast I listen to.
They'll be other colors. So that's something fun.
So you listen a minute. I'm gonna hook up the antenna.
We're in the Gamma Ursae Minorids right now, and we'll be in the Alpha Centaurids in a week or so.
Those are little.
Those are little ones. It's what is it? The Perseus is
Alpha
the one.
Centaurids, they're so small.
Perseus.
Okay, so I did hook it up to an antenna. So what we're going to do here, let me pause this for a second. Okay, so we're going to switch it over to FM, and we're going to very, very briefly tune it into a radio station, because we're going to compare the volume from a radio station to what you're getting through the Bluetooth device to see how close they are to being equal.
Nick.
I may have said this before on the show, but in
it's not quite fair because this is voices and the other is music.
I saw the Leonid shower.
So it's not quite as loud. I do have the setting on my phone that's turned up all the way. So, but it's reasonably close and probably pretty good in that respect. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this up, make it loud.
I thought it was exciting. Oh, I was very lucky to see that. But other news.
So you can hear it well. And I'm going to go take a walk.
Last week,
and I'm going to go walk and walk and walk. In fact, I'm going to turn it up really loud, and I'm going to go take a walk and see what the range is on this. Because what you really need is like at least 20 or 30 feet.
And other front rankers from NASA and a rep from SpaceX and a couple of others on their press conference. And they said, well, okay, so we're finally going to admit it. The Artemis 2 lunar flyby will be delayed, not in 2024, but at least till December 25. And Artemis 3, the landing at least till 2026, no month given. And as we've discussed before, there's a few problems with that. We don't have a lunar EVA-capable suit. We haven't built one since the 1970s, so we're working on that with Axiom Space Company. And critically, we don't yet have a lunar lander this ready because Elon's got to fly those starships, because the Starship is what's supposed to get us down the lunar surface, and we've only flown 2 of them, and they both exploded. So working on that, and nobody I know in the community believed these dates, and originally it was supposed to be out around 2028, but the Trump administration said, no, we want it in 24, because we'll still be in office. Not quite.
Okay, I'm back. So I wandered outside, and I was easily 50 feet from here. And it worked fine. I could hear it all the way out there, so that was all good. So the next thing I want to try is the idea of how you hook up the audio varies somewhat. So I'm going to unplug it from the 3003, and it's connected to the tape input. I'm going to hook up just the right channel and play this.
So it's official now, and they've got a little more time. And Leo, you remember this from the Apollo years. If you were paying attention then. Money.
Well, I didn't say it, but JFK did say, before this decade is out, and he did it.
It doesn't sound any different to me. Now, it's not the fairest comparison in the world because we're not actually playing music through it, but if we were, it would be more dynamic sounding and so forth. So that's something we'd have to try more real world and probably do that off camera because, copyright for music and all that good stuff. Essentially, it seems to work, which I figured it probably would because he works for a reputable company that makes electronic products, so there wouldn't be any reason why it wouldn't. I think the lower volume on the input is probably because the output of this is very small, and so smaller signal in, less sound out would be my guess. Also, it probably varies somewhat from phone to phone, because I know in the past I've had people, it's like, well, I have an iPhone 6 and it doesn't play as loud as the radio. Well, that has a lot more to do with the iPhone 6 than it does to do with anything else. So, there's always that. Also, the match between something like this or something like this, no, this one, the audio isolation box here, depends on how the ratio of the transformers and all those sort of things. I would assume that they're 1-to-1. That's something I guess I can measure and see. In fact, let's do that real quick. So I opened up the audio isolation box again, and we'll just do a quick measurement. And we're going to measure the input of one side of the transformer. So the way audio isolation transformers work are, you have to use your imagination. So this is the core. My fist is the core of the transformer. On one side, you've got the input coil, and on the other side, you have the output coil. And the coils are not physically connected. The input coil receives the signal, creates a magnetic field through the core metal of the transformer, and it induces or bleeds into the secondary coil on the other side. So signal in through the coil, bleeds into the output coil, into it, and then out to the device. So they're electrically isolated, but they're connected through their own magnetic field. Transformers have ratios. So if it's most audio isolation transformers, it probably is 1-to-1. So if it's 1 ohm here, it's 1 ohm here. For something like an audio isolation transformer, the point of the transformer is to electrically separate the front half from the back half before it goes into the intercom, so you don't get buzzes and hums and ground loops and problems like that. So in theory, they should be pretty close to the same. So this side measures 118 ohms, and this side measures 130 ohms. Close enough, because everything has a tolerance, plus or minus usually 10%, sometimes 20. Depends on how good of a transformer you're buying. Because what you have to remember is this is not a NASA quality device. This is not something that's being designed and is going to go in a probe and go to Mars. And it's got to last for 40 years without any kind of problems. And it has to be super, super, super high quality. It's just a little audio isolation transformer for a Bluetoothy thing to hook to your intercom system. So it's close enough. On first glance, it seems to be a reasonable device. And at this point, that's all I know about it. So I'm going to do something I haven't actually done before. On our homepage, there's a tab that says Community. If you go to the Community tab, doesn't necessarily have videos. Usually has pictures of things or pictures that people send me or other little detailing information that I think sometimes people might find interesting and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we can do on the community page is we can start a poll. A poll is where I can ask a question, and I think I haven't done this before. I think I can give you like multiple choice. You can click on which answer you think you would be most happy with. And so I'm going to start a poll after I post this video. All the subscribers will get a notification and they can participate in the poll. Or if you're not a subscriber, which you should be because I make these videos for all you folks, you can also go to the community tab on our homepage and answer the poll and we'll collect it. And so the questions on the poll, it's going to be one question to keep it easy. And basically I'm going to give you multiple choices, I think, of how much would you pay to have a device like this. It seems to be reasonably well made for what it is. I have an idea of what my cost on it will be, which I'm not going to say because we don't do that, but I want some idea of what folks think that they would be willing to pay for something like this. Remember, it gets installed, gets hooked up to the transformer in your wall behind your NuTone intercom system for power, so it's powered constantly. It's connected through an audio cable to the auxiliary input on the back of the intercom system, so it's a permanent installation. Once you hook it up, and it's relatively easy to do, it's 2 little wires on a transformer and it's an audio cable to plug in. Not that much to do, so most people should be able to do it. And of course, I could make a video that shows you how to do it, at least on one model, and then you can sort of figure out the best on your own. And after you hook it up, then you got to pair it up with your phone, and then you can play music or whatever Bluetooth source you have to go along with it. So I'm going to start a poll when I post this video, and we'll let the poll run for, I don't know, maybe a week or 10 days or something. And that way I can get some idea from you folks what you think this would be worth to you. Because, you know, if everybody thinks, oh yeah, I'd really like to have one of those, but I am not willing to pay more than $9.99 for it, then it's probably not going to happen, because it's going to be more expensive than that. I can tell you that at this point without giving away how much it's actually going to, I think it's going to be. So that's all for this video. I hope for some people, and I know we've already started to kind of formulate a list of people. It's like a waiting list of people who might be interested in this, and then they can see this also. And I hope you and they find it interesting. If you do, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. Please like, subscribe. There'll be a banner here. Click on the bell, subscribe. It helps the channel. Do all those sort of things, and I'll see you on the next video.